Hi, I'm Caroline, and I've created a lot of things, but mostly I've created a life I love. Join me on my journey as a podcaster, business owner, and mom as I try to create all the things. Welcome to the Caroline Creates podcast. Hey everyone, Caroline here. So, are any of you introverts? I am the definition of an introvert. I've definitely grown. I'm not as much of an introvert as I used to be. And I do think a lot of that is because I do the podcasting. So I've become more comfortable with my voice and more comfortable with hearing myself talk. And I did a podcast episode and a YouTube video, and I will link to those in the show notes, all about finding your voice. So if you have never taken the Myers-Briggs, I highly recommend it. I took the Myers-Briggs, I kind of take it like every 6 months just to kind of see what it looks like. And I am an INFJ, which is a pretty rare personality type. And I remember the first time I took the test and I read that, I was like, oh my gosh, my whole life makes so much sense now because it described a lot of the things that I felt and didn't know was okay for me to feel or was natural for me to feel as an introvert. One of those things is that being around people and talking to people constantly literally exhausts me. And what's really funny is that podcasting exhausts me as well. So, hi, my name's Caroline. I'm an introvert and I'm exhausted. So I know there are a lot of introverts out there, and podcasting really appeals to them and it appealed to me too, because you're not having to put your face in front of it. So like not being on camera and not having to talk to people face to face is really great for introverts. And I love that I can shut myself in my office and record podcast episodes and nobody is the wiser, nobody knows. And I love that. The thing is though, is one of the kind of qualities of an INFJ, which is what I am, is that talking out loud is draining. And so I get really tired when we have long recording sessions. And we usually try to record a couple episodes every week. We have kind of a day that we designate as our recording day, and sometimes we're recording with guests and sometimes we're by ourselves. And definitely when we have a guest on, it's more exhausting because I feel like I have to be on and I have to be sit up straight and say all the right things and be on basically. And then when it's just the two of us recording our podcast, it's not so bad. And sitting here doing these by myself really isn't that bad, and I enjoy it and I don't mind it so much. But the thing is when you do several in a day, and then I also have kiddos who require a lot of me, and I'm talking a lot all day, I'm reading aloud, I'm helping them. I homeschool, so there's a lot of talking and reading aloud. It can get really, really exhausting. And, it took me a long time to realize that that's what was making me so tired, was the talking, because I am an introvert, because it is draining. And it also took me a while to kind of figure out, okay, well, if this is the case, how am I going to deal with this, right? So there are a couple things that I do to kind of lessen the exhaustion of podcasting as an introvert and somebody who doesn't like to talk a lot. And, how I kind of recover because yes, I do have to recover after we record episodes. So the first thing is I try to limit my talking on the days that I record. So I don't take client phone calls. We do a little bit of school on days we record, but it's a different version of our normal school. And in fact, today I have a sitter here with my kiddos. So that's really helpful. And then I try to prepare as much as I can for those episodes. So that means having questions that I've written ahead of time, trying to read them through before the interview. If we're doing an episode where it's just the two of us, we'll kind of talk it out before we start. I feel like all of these things help me to have a little bit more confidence and to not come into it already tired. I will drink an extra cup of coffee, no lying, before we do podcasts to help get my energy up. I am not a morning person, and we usually record in the mornings. And so I've had to really work on like my energy level and how that sounds when I'm recording. So those are kind of the ways that I prepare for and make sure that I'm not overloading myself on the days that we record. So like right now, I am batch recording, which I talked about before. I think that's really important. I'm batch recording episodes for my podcast, and then we're also recording for our podcast, Creative Biz Rebellion. So pretty much like this is all I'm going to do today as far as speaking. I am not taking any client calls. I'm not like going to a party, nothing like that. Okay, so what's really funny is I used to get, well, I still do, but I get really tired after we record episodes. I mean, like, I just want to go take a nap. I'm usually extremely hungry, like need a hamburger kind of situation. It's the funniest thing. I thought I was the only one. Like, I was like, this is so weird. I'm so sensitive. I'm just a weirdo that this is why, you know, I get so tired. And one day I was talking about it with my podcast co-host, and she was like, oh my gosh, I do the same thing. I get so tired. And I thought that was so interesting. And again, when I took that Myers-Briggs test and found out I was an INFJ, it mentioned how like speaking can be draining, and that made a lot of sense to me because I've always felt that way. Like, I love hanging out with people, but after like a couple hours, I'm just tired of talking. Like, hey, let's watch a movie, let's do something that doesn't involve me moving my mouth. It's like my brain gets tired, but also like it just drains my energy. So after we record, that's it usually. Like, if I still have work to do afterwards, I will take a little break and then come back to work. But I will usually go and watch a TV show just to like let everything kind of just relax for a little bit and just have a moment of peace and chill, and to be able to like listen to somebody else's conversation that I'm not involved in really, really is helpful. Before we moved to Colorado, my daughters would actually go somewhere else on recording days. And so I would usually like go get lunch afterwards and then come home and watch a show before I would go pick them up. So I don't have that luxury now. And so what I usually do is like I'll go hang out with them, chill, watch a show, or something like that after I get done recording. I also I cannot do multiple back-to-back days of recording in a week. Not only is it incredibly disruptive to my work schedule, it is just totally draining. And so a while back, like we kind of had gone through this phase where we were trying to get episodes recorded and batch record a lot. And we realized, you know, by doing it multiple times in the week, how exhausted we were and how disruptive it felt. And so that is when we kind of went to sticking to a recording schedule that worked for us. And it is definitely hard because we have one day a week where we can have guests on, and we only have a few time slots that day. And for the most part, we just kind of go, you know, if you can't work with that schedule, then we can't have you on the show. And I know that sounds really, really harsh, but like at some point you have to do what works best for you and for your business, and that's what works best for us. I think we've only had one or two instances where it's been an issue, and a lot of times we're able to work around it and figure it out, but definitely like having a recording schedule. And so I know, like looking at my week, when we're recording, what's going on, and so I can plan accordingly. Now, the other thing I've done in my business, which has really helped, is I limit client calls to one day a week as well. So I only have one day a week where I will take client calls, and I'm actually going to go on a client call break for a few weeks because I'm just exhausted of being on the phone all the time. And that is really going to help me as well. So all of these things help my little introverted heart and help me to keep podcasting and not get too exhausted by it. It can be exhausting. Now, as far as the YouTube goes, I had started a YouTube channel and then we moved, and I haven't gone back to that yet, and I am planning on doing so definitely, but it was kind of the same way. So I had to work up to it, and I usually try to record 4 or 5 videos in one day, and then I'm done for like a few weeks. And that really helps. So I think the key with if you're an introvert and you're in a position where you feel like you need to be visible is to find ways of being visible that work for you. So podcasting is a great way to do that because you're not having to put your face out there. I love Instagram. I don't really ever post pictures of myself, and that's totally fine, and it works for me. And yeah, that is how I podcast and be an introvert at the same time. If you have not taken the Myers-Briggs Test, I highly recommend it. I learned a lot about my personality, and it's really helped me kind of gauge how I need to work and what I need to do. And it also made me feel like not so much of a freak, because I honestly thought I was a freak for most of my life until I read that personality test, and I was like, I'm not a freak. Look, it's all right here on paper. So I highly recommend it. I will have the link to that in the show notes. And if you're an introvert and a podcaster, I would love to meet you. I would love to say a virtual hello. So please DM me on Instagram at Caroline Creates, or you can email me hello@carolinecreates.com. And introverts unite. So have a great day, and I will be back next week. Before you go, please head to Apple Podcasts and leave me a review. I would love to hear from you. And to learn more about me and follow along my journey, head to www.carolinecreates.com. There you can also listen to episodes, watch YouTube videos, and find out more about my podcasting services. Thanks so much. Have a great day.